Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wedding Ceremony Podcast. We talk about anything and everything that has to do with wedding ceremonies. My name is Clint Hufton. With me is a gentleman that has a few stories to share, the one and only JP Reynolds.
Clint, happy December.
Happy December. That's right. For all of our faithful listeners and viewers, soak this up because we're going to take a break over the holidays and we'll come back in the new year. And when I say soak this up, we've got plenty to share with you today. The reason we have a wedding ceremony podcast is because JP and I are both wedding officiants. We both have been doing it for quite a while. We come from completely different backgrounds, which makes us a lot of fun. You should know that JP is an accomplished author about wedding ceremonies. He's got books in the Amazon store and in the Kindle store in Amazon. He is a communications expert. Thebusinessofconfidence.com is that website. His wedding website is jprweddings.com. Mine is just my name, Clint Huft, CLINTHUFFT.com for all of the things that I do. JP,
Clint,
please begin.
fair enough. So when we last met 2 weeks ago, I had just the weekend before here in Southern California, it was wonderfully torrential rain in the days prior. That weekend, I had a wedding. Because of the rain, it had to be brought inside. And it was a decision that was made the morning of the wedding. So when I arrived, and it was an early start to the wedding to begin with. So when I arrived, there was a lot of movement going on in this smaller of the ballrooms. Again, you and I always talk about how we arrive an hour ahead of time and we have our checklist of people that we need to see and et cetera, et cetera. And I was primarily focused on the two readers, each of whom was going to read a rather lengthy reading. They were each nervous about the reading. So I wanted to spend some time with them and make sure that, do we use a mic stand or not a mic stand, whatever. And then there were other elements that I needed to tend to. All of which is by saying the one thing I forgot to check on was the person who was going to present the rings.
Oh,
There was no wedding party. There were no little people. There was nothing. The rings were going to be presented by the groom's father.
oh, that's nice.
Oh, it's lovely. Yes. There are many lovely touches to my weddings, Clint.
This being just one of them.
That's right. Because the bride father was not able to attend, so the groom's father was the only father present, and anyway, he is the only person that I did not see before the start of the wedding because he was all the way in another wing of the hotel and he was whatever. And I thought, well, he's a father and he'll know. It's not like he's some child with a pillow. Came time for the rings. And I said, I would now ask the guardian of the rings to please come forward. And no one moved.
No one moved.
It turns
Got
out
it.
there was no guardian of the rings, all right? Well, it turned out that the rings were left in the room. I have to say, the bride and groom were so wonderfully and preeminently relaxed about their wedding day because they were so happy. And it was an intimate wedding. The guests, I think, numbered about 50, 60 people. So it was an intimate gathering, an intimate setting. The people who were present were the closest of the close. So there's no high drama. They just said, oh, we'll do it later. This happened once before, long, 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 long time ago. And it turned out I was going to be having dinner close by to the reception site. And that first time it happened, I went back later in the evening and we did the rings at the reception.
Oh, that's right. I remember that story. Yeah.
And it was very cute. It was very sweet. But in this situation, I was moving on, getting back on the freeway, so I wouldn't be able to circle back later in the evening. Again, the reason why I'm telling the story, and obviously why I'm sharing with you and with our good people, is it's just a reminder that no matter how well prepared you are, no matter how many times you check the checklist, it is always possible to presume or to overlook that one little item. And that's okay if you have a couple like I had who are just swept up in the joy of the moment and are not putting their emphasis on perfection. Because everybody laughed when he didn't have the rings, and it's going to now become a sweet moment in the memory of their wedding day. But for us, it's just that reminder you can never be too prepared.
Plus, it brings to light you mentioned that he's a father, so of course the father is going to be able to handle things, but we have no idea the emotional state of everybody that could be connected to the ceremony. We have no idea. As a dad, I can certainly say, and my kids and my wife will attest to this, I can get a little spacey at times. I would want somebody to say, "Do you have the rings?" And plus, do you think some of that falls on the event planner, or do you think that we have to carry the entire burden to make sure that everybody has what they need?
Well, you know, Clint, that's a very good question because it's a question I asked myself on the ride home.
Oh, is that my fault?
Great minds think alike. My thought is it is not our full responsibility. What happened was, and this was the event planner is someone that I have worked with and who's fabulous. There was so much chaos because of the weather.
Right.
There was so much chaos because we're supposed to have the ceremony outdoors. It's a beautiful venue. It'd be a beautiful lawn, a beautiful view. And now we are moving. It's an intimate wedding, big production. You've got flowers, you've got chairs, you've got music, you've got everything's coming in now. In the hubbub of that change, people were focused on so many different things.
Right. That's fair.
And because the wedding party now had to be stationed and waiting in another wing of the hotel, it is just logistically, oh, that's just too far to go there and then come back.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
if the weather was good, if it had been a beautiful day, that father would have been standing outside on the lawn as the father of the groom.
Hmm.
He would just be there, or there'd be photos outside, whatever. And we normally would look and go over and say, I just want to make sure about the rings. It was a perfect storm, pun intended.
Yes.
It makes perfect sense how it would be easy to overlook something, but props to the couple for knowing where their priority for the day was.
Oh yeah. You were blessed. You were blessed with that couple, all things considered, because you and I have both experienced situations where the people were not as magnanimous and drama, drama, drama. It just occurred to me, I was thinking about that, about how I want to check everything and make sure I know where the rings are. When I show up, where's the license and where are the rings? That's kind of like standard operating procedure in terms of the first questions I ask. And then it also occurred to me the reason behind that is not to protect those other people. That is kind of wonderful byproduct. But the reasoning behind it is to protect myself. I've said that I have a long, long history of being a professional master of ceremonies. And from that perspective, because we are, as officiants, masters of ceremony, literally. And so I think that if I have everything where it's supposed to be and everybody where they're supposed to be, and they all know how it's going to play out, it protects me from an embarrassing moment or anything that would stop the flow that we all want of the ceremony coming to a wonderful climactic end. So I got to admit that my intentions or my motivations are really selfish. It just by luck, it protects everybody else. Does that make sense?
It does.
Thank you.
And there's nothing wrong with you being selfish,
Oh,
Clint.
thanks. Phew, boy. I just needed JP to sign off on that. Thank you very much.
It's all part and parcel of it all. It's interesting. It's a reminder of my focus in the midst of all of that movement. My focus was the license,
Mm-hmm.
and my other focus, my concern, were the readers
Right.
because they were older. They were aunts and uncle or whatever, and I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable. They knew their cue. We knew where they were going to stand. We decided whether they're going to have a stand or not. And in the prioritizing, oh, it's the groom's father. Okay,
Oh, I get that. Don't
yeah,
get me wrong. I completely
yeah,
understand that. And then you run out of time. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's time to line up for the processional and
right,
let's rock and roll. I
right.
totally get it. Out of curiosity for the readers, you mentioned they were a little bit older. Were they more concerned about the length of the reading or being public speaking or being able to read what they had to read, their sight? I hope they went with a stand. That's what I'm just hoping. I hope they didn't have to hold the microphone. What do you know what they were really nervous about?
They've been nervous about me. No. Okay, you know what? And I apologize. I take it back. There were two readers. One was older. She was an aunt. And then the second reader was the reverse, young, like the youngest brother. He was still a teenager, but the concerns would be the same. Their concern was where are they going to stand? Well, for the aunt, her concern was, can I give them a hug afterwards?
What'd you say?
Okay, I'll give you the real one. Yes. Okay. Well, why are you setting me up with this? What did I say? No, no. I love readers who hug when they're done. I'm big on it's like, let's just milk this moment. I want tears. I want one of the three of you to be crying by the time that reading is over.
I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that we come from very different backgrounds, but I love it when we connect 100% on something. And that is when they ask permission for something that is so simple and silly, but
Right.
it's really important to them. They just don't want to do the wrong thing. I have the exact same impulse that you do. And sometimes I let it come out. If I think that, they're going to be cool with it, I'll just say, no. And
Right.
then I'll say, yeah, no, I'm kidding. Of course you can.
Right.
But that one moment is just so gratifying.
Right. But interestingly, in terms of the microphone, I always say to them that whatever makes you comfortable is fine with me.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
do not, because I have the ceremony memorized, I don't use a stand. So
Right. You hold it.
you
You
know,
hold the microphone, right?
I hold the microphone and I
Mhm.
said, I tell them what I'm doing. I said, if they want a stand, I will use a stand for the first half of the ceremony. And then for the vows and everything, I'll put it off to the side. Both of them rose to the occasion and said they did not need the stand because
Okay.
the reading was on, I had it was on each reading was just one sheet of paper and it worked out fine.
Great. So this last weekend, you officiated a wedding. Well, I should say for everybody who's listening to this or watching this at a later date, we just had Thanksgiving weekend. You officiated the wedding ceremony for someone who was really important to you. You asked me a question before we started recording is, have I ever done something like that? And did it influence the way I approached my job? And I thought that was fascinating. So I'll let you just jump in.
I do not have children of my own. I have, though, two nieces with whom I'm very close, and I have seven godchildren.
Wow. My wife and I were just talking about this in terms of godparents and that kind of stuff. And the
Right.
whole idea is that if anything should happen to the parents, then the kids come to you. Was that the arrangement, or what is the definition of a godparent?
Well, that is the Hallmark card definition of a godparent.
Yes.
There needs to be a legal document saying if we both die, these godparents are going to take our kid.
Yeah.
That legal arrangement did not exist with any of these.
So you didn't have to worry about that?
No, no, I made it very clear that they have to. But they all now are, of course, young adults. So Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, I officiated the wedding of yet another goddaughter. It just is as sweet can be. It was very interesting. And I guess I did ask you if you officiated the wedding of someone close to you. Did it change your style? Did you change anything? Did it impact you in any way that impacted the ceremony?
I did my niece about 15 years ago. And what I remember is it was up in San Francisco and it was this really, really cool chapel. So logistically, I had things to think about. I just had a lot of stuff to think about in regards to the craft of my job. But it was a wonderful experience to be able to look at the two of them, and especially my niece, and see how happy she was to be getting married. And that I was able to help facilitate that wonderful moment for her. And fortunately, that continued through the rest of the day. Everybody was talking about how happy she was. And so, from that standpoint, it didn't really affect what I was doing, but it did enhance what I was feeling for her.
And I suspect that those enhanced feelings that the people present picked up on that. Because
Oh, I hope so.
I think that's what people picked up from me on Friday. And for my goddaughter Katie, she's the oldest of my godchildren. She and her husband Vincent, after he had proposed, I was the first quote vendor, I suppose, that they reached out to and invited me to officiate their wedding. And they are each 40, so a little older, did not want the big necessarily. They wanted a genuine wedding celebration without getting entrapped with a lot of the hoopla that you can be entrapped by. The first question was, well, when do we get, when are we going to get married? And I had suggested the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, really?
It is probably my favorite day of the year. Well, I have two favorite days of the year to get married: the day after Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
But New Year's Eve in the evening.
Oh yeah.
I'm not interested in like a 2 o'clock wedding on New Year's Eve.
No, 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 no.
No.
Yeah. I've only done one, I think, maybe two, but the one that immediately the memories came to mind was at this wonderful facility downtown Los Angeles that used to be a cathedral. You familiar with it?
Oh yeah.
It was a later wedding ceremony because I knew that they wanted the reception to bring in the new year. That was fantastic. Talking about people that are close to you and special for you, my niece's son, who is 25 and a half years old, and he's a very successful businessman in commercial real estate. He also is a triathlete. He's one of those guys, this A kind of guy, A personality, whatever you call him. And he's an achiever and he'll set a goal and he's very competitive and da da da. So he had a high school sweetheart and they broke up. There was nobody else for a number of years. And then all of a sudden in the social media posts, I start seeing pictures of somebody who's standing next to him, a young lady. And I think, oh, wait a minute, we're in it now. And I started to get this feeling that I think this is serious. Well, he was at the Thanksgiving celebration and I found a private moment with him. And I said, tell me about your girlfriend. And he did. They've been seeing each other for over a year. And I get the kind of the lowdown on her. And I said, I have a feeling about this. I'm not going to say anything else other than that. And I just want you to know that if it goes to that point, please don't feel obligated to have me. And he cut me off. He says, oh, no, you're the guy. There's nobody else. You're the guy. That was really sweet. And it meant a lot to me. But I didn't want anybody in the family because I think they both go to church on a regular basis. I have no idea what their connection is to their clergy. And so I didn't want anybody to feel that because Uncle Clint has been doing this for a while, that now we have to have him or it's an insult to the family. I didn't want any of that. Does that make sense?
Not really. I'm Irish Catholic. And so that would be grounds to disown the child, to disown his parents. Why did they raise an ingrate? You know, I don't understand that. That's very foreign. That whole New York Irish Catholic perspective is like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What is this gobbledygook coming
This
out of your
is
mouth?
grounds for high drama. Can you believe it? He's getting married and he did it in, oh, yes. Oh, love it.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, Clint, you are such a lovely man. I do not know why you spend Tuesdays with me. It is like,
For moments exactly like this, JP, because we just went through, Thanksgiving lasts as long as anybody wants it to. And so I'm very thankful for you. And I think that everybody should know that I mentioned this earlier, that we are going to take a break for the rest of the year because of the holidays and all that kind of stuff. And we'll be back in January with the podcast. And before we go, are there any New Year's resolutions, JP, that you would like to share?
that's interesting. I have never been someone to make a New Year's resolution.
Never.
I have never been into the whole New Year's resolution thing because I think I want to be consistent in throughout the year having resolutions.
Oh, okay.
And that sense of, oh, this is it. This is the big, we're mapping it out. So no, I don't have New Year's resolutions.
I like it. What I just heard you say is that you kind of have goals throughout the year. And so
Right.
that's the way you construct it. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. You're yourself though.
Well, I do have a couple of media projects that I'm halfway through. So I'm hoping that I can share those with the world pretty quickly into the new year. That'd be great. JP, tell everybody how they get in touch with you.
Well, Clint, let me just end by saying to you, I too am, you're at the top of that Thanksgiving list. So
Uh,
yes, absolutely. And
Thank you.
just the thankful for Tuesdays with Clint, Tuesdays with all the good folks who tune in. This is it's really sweet.
I
Doesn't
agree.
doesn't get any better.
I look forward to it every time.
Right back at you, bro. Let's get to me. My website is jprweddings.com. Go to the website and you'll be able to contact me in all sorts of ways.
Well, I'm pretty much following the business model of JP Reynolds because you can just go to my website. It's my name, Clintuff, CLINTHUFFT.com for all of the things that I do. That's it for this episode. That's it for 2025 of the Wedding Ceremony Podcast. There you go. On behalf of JP, this is Clint, and we will see you next time.